I drank alcohol nearly every single night from the age of 18 to 21. But then I stopped, and here's my story why. To kick things off, I just want to set the scene of before turning 18, I had this absolutely zero tolerance policy with myself for alcohol. I was offered sips every once in a while at Thanksgiving dinners, Christmas dinners, but I never wanted to drink any because alcohol just felt forbidden. It felt wrong to me, and it felt like something that only adults do. So what you view alcohol as, whether it's a beverage for teenagers or if you should absolutely strictly 100% wait until 21, that's ultimately your decision. I do think you should at least wait till 18, and that was my viewpoint. I told myself at 18, I'll make my own decision to drink, but until then, I want to make sure that I develop right and that alcohol doesn't mess me up any way that it could technically mess up a minor. So just be careful if you are in the teenager realm thinking about experimenting with stuff. It isn't the best idea. I understand the curiosity. I understand the want to do so, but I think a happy medium with yourself is giving yourself the opportunity to try it at 18, but you want to do yourself a favor and not try it too young. But with that out of the way, let me tell you my story. I didn't drink a sip of alcohol until I was 18, but once 18 hit, you betcha I was off to the races. So I have my journal on one side, and we're going to read the first journal entry I wrote after I drank for the first time on my 18th birthday. To set the scene, I was still in high school, and I remember asking my mom if I could stay home from school the next day because I just didn't want to go to school the day after my birthday, because who would want to do that? You know, it's a birthday present. I just want to stay home. I don't want to be there. So here we go. Here is the entry. Mom agreed that I didn't need to go to school the following day. So I went on deliveries with my friends and brother, and I got drunk, way drunk it felt like. I was acting so weird just after 3 beers. I was petting my friend's head and had to pee so many times. Walking was a challenge, and everything was just fun. I kind of want to do it again. It's scary and vulnerable, and it speaks so much volume, how innocent and how it seems like this is just some regular old journal entry that won't amount to much, but this sent my life in almost a downward spiral. Alcohol consumed me for the next 3 years. I was living with my older brother who was 20, and we had a friend who was 22. The 22-year-old bought us the alcohol, but every day we were on the hunt to try and find out who would get us beverage, whether it was a coworker, the friend. Someone had to buy us alcohol because we were going to drink every night. And I think it started just like a month or two after turning 18. Like my 18th birthday, I drank, and then I started drinking once or twice a week. And then once I moved out, it was a done deal that I was going to let alcohol take over my life for a little bit. So let's talk about when I drank. Every night after I got out of work, which would be about 9 or 10 p.m. On my off days, I told myself I'm not going to be a day drinker. I set those boundaries because I didn't want to feel like I was an alcoholic. I had to convince myself I wasn't. And to convince myself I wasn't, I gave myself the boundary of, hey, if I only drink after the hours of 9 p.m. or 10 p.m., how could I possibly be an alcoholic? I'm functioning the whole day without it. And while there might be some truth to that, you can be a functioning alcoholic. And I think I was definitely going down that path. I was never actually diagnosed as an alcoholic. I never had a scare where I went to the hospital or anything like that. But I was on the direct trajectory as someone that was very, very close to me was. And we drank nearly the same amount every single night and had some bad stuff happen to him. And that is actually what fueled me to stop drinking. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's talk about why I did it. I drank because, if I'm being completely honest, alcohol is fun. It gives you those endorphins. It makes everything feel euphoric. It makes boring times feel less boring. It makes just being at home watching a movie fun. I feel kind of pathetic saying this, but it almost gave me like a sense of purpose, because I knew, okay, I'm going to finish work today and then I'm going to go home and drink, and it's going to be a nice night. It made me less ambitious because the ending of my day is just going to be drinking versus prioritizing something else that could help me actually in the future. So that's why I did it. I was 18, I was 19, I was 20. I was just thinking about the now and not the future. And that's something very common that a lot of us will go through. And I'm not here to tell you, oh, you're a bad person for it. I'm here to wake you up and help you realize that there's more to life than just a couple drinks at the end of the night, or a couple more than a couple more. When I started feeling like I needed to quit alcohol was I knew that drinking was starting to rob me of the next day experience. I would be hungover on my day off and hate it. And I remember taking naps and waking up at like 2 in the afternoon and then taking a nap at 5 and not doing much the day after just so I could have a really fun night the night before. And while the night before was fun and it was easy to rationalize, oh, I'll just have a great time at night, it did suck the next day. And I was getting kind of annoyed with it. But I put up with it a long time because a lot of times on my day off, I didn't have plans and didn't know what to plan because my plans were always let's drink at night. So it was a downward spiral in that effect. It also came to my realization pretty quickly that alcohol is not free. It costs a lot of money, especially if someone's doing you a quote unquote favor with buying you alcohol when you can't buy it. Usually they're like, throw me an extra 10 or throw me 5, and it adds up so quick. I remember I would have like 2 tall cans each night for a while, and that would be $6 a night. And if I was lucky, my tips from Subway would pay for it. But if I wasn't lucky, I'd have to find money another way or grab a 10, and then the person buying it for me would just keep the change. And it was annoying. It was annoying. I spent $10 usually on alcohol a night. That's $70 a week. That's $280 a month. And it was just way too much for someone who wasn't even legally able to drink. And it kind of, it made me feel bad as I started getting older and older and doing it for longer and longer. Another thing was, before I started drinking, I was about 120 pounds, maybe 125. I was always a very skinny guy. And when I started drinking alcohol, I had this lapse in time when I saw someone. So I was a mailman and I would do this route when I first started, and then a year went by and then I did this route again, and the guy saw me and he's like, wow, you changed. And I'm like, what do you mean? And he told me I got fat. And I wasn't fat. I was 140 pounds at 5'10", and that's not fat. But I always struggled with my body image growing up and even now. And so to hear that, it made me feel so disgusted with myself. I gained 15 pounds and it was all alcohol weight. And while I wasn't fat, I see in the pictures now, my face was fuller. I didn't look as good as I could have been, as I could have. And I had weight gain from alcohol and wasn't very happy with it. It also clouded my judgment decisions. I remember one day I was drinking and I thought it'd be really cool to show the couple people that I had over where I hid my money. And I had maybe $600 in that stash because I liked to keep money in different places. I'm not recommending you do this at all. I think it's pretty stupid to keep big amounts of cash on you. But at the time, I was like 19 and thinking I was cool. And I showed maybe 3 or 4 friends where I kept my money. And lo and behold, a few weeks later, all that money's gone. And then I start questioning some friendships. It's things like that that made me realize alcohol is not doing me justice. It's doing me a disservice. And I saw myself trending towards only drinking more. It wasn't like at 18, I drank 2 beers a night, and then at 21, I was having 1. It was only growing more and more. And I knew in my heart that this was not the way I wanted to go down. It also made life pretty predictable and hard to progress. It's hard to do anything constructive on your day off if you're hungover until 2 and then have to take a nap at 5. And it's pretty predictable if your plans are to get out of work and drink at night. So it was fun while it lasted, most of the time. But now that I'm on the other side of it and I've been sober for 6 years, I'm really good at saying no when I go to bars. I'm really good at saying no when I get invited to go to have a drink. I don't like it. It always makes me feel bad the next day. I remember writing in my journals the feelings I would have after I had alcohol and why hangovers suck so much. And I wrote in detail what I didn't like about it and how I felt about myself. And that definitely made it easier to not drink because I would think about, man, I don't want to feel that way because it does suck. Once I quit, I obviously felt better, especially on my days off. I could do things. I got better sleep, and it just kind of skyrocketed me to want to do more detoxes. I was vaping at the time, and pretty soon after I stopped drinking, I stopped vaping as well. And then I was just this 21-year-old straight edge. I quit alcohol at 21 because someone very close to me ended up going and getting diagnosed with a label that I wouldn't want to be diagnosed with. And we had the same drinking habits. And I just knew that if I didn't take matters in my own hands, I would go down that same path very shortly. So I remember getting the news and I cold turkey stopped. And it was scary. It was scary. I remember getting shakes. I remember sweating. I remember not sleeping well a couple nights. But I got through it, and now I'm sober. And the easiest way for me to stay sober is to not teeter on the edge of drinking at all. I just decide I don't ever want to drink. I have too many things in life going for me that alcohol would just mess it up. And this doesn't mean that everyone has to be this way, but this is just what works for me. And if you are ever sober curious long term, like, oh, what is it like to not drink for a month? What is it like to not drink for a year? I have no complaints with this. I have a lot of fun. I still go out and drink water in bars and play pool and play darts and hang out with people. And I think you would be doing yourself a great service by lowering your alcohol intake or going sober altogether. But that's why I quit alcohol at the ripe age of 21. Gen Z Daddy out.